Hello, everybody, and welcome back to this week's episode of the Cantina Conversations, the number one conversational podcast in the entire galaxy. I am one of your hosts, Will Beeman, joined as always by my two Canadian compadres, starting off with the ever so lovely, the moody man himself, DJ Giller. DJ, how are you today?
I'm moody. I don't like that.
It's because of your Kylo Ren cosplay.
Oh, right. I just keep going with it. It's good. This is not Supreme branded, but I guess it's good enough for my Kylo Ren cosplay. Yeah. I was gonna scream when we started this episode because of Mando, but I don't want to scream. I don't know how to do that really. So imagine me screaming.
I would love to hear you scream sometime, DJ.
Yeah, anytime.
Maybe when I break into your house to drown you.
That would probably do it. I don't know that I've screamed in years, so I don't know what it would be like.
You haven't screamed in years.
No, that's not a thing I do.
I screamed this morning, and we have joining us to round out the trio, Jackson Wells with his cute little collar. Jackson, how are you today? Oh, that's right.
I'm doing well.
Audio listeners. For audio listeners, he just took out a sip out of his Kermit mug.
The audio listeners are going to miss this story development. Jackson, show everybody what you've acquired.
So here I have this. I'm trying to fix the lighting. We've got Kermit the Frog. It's a mug that's been hand painted by some lady, some Amish lady outside of Waterloo, where I'm from. So thank you to her. I bought it off of Etsy. Loyal listeners will know 2 weeks ago I put out the call for a new mug, and no one answered the call, but I answered it myself, and here we've got this lovely Kermit mug.
He did his own research, and he knows.
Yeah.
Much like the Mandalorian, Jackson carries on his story arc with the every other episode deal. So before we get into Chapter 11, the Heiress this week, which was a fantastic episode of The Mandalorian. There's a small little tidbits of news. Before that, though, I want to do some show and tell. Of course, Papa Star Wars has gotten some new stuff, starting off with Star Wars The Jedi Mind, which says Secrets from the Force for Balance and Peace. And it's basically
Is it like a Star Wars yoga book?
It's like a Star Wars self-help book on dealing with like anxiety and stuff.
That's cool.
Mindfulness.
It's full of like Star Wars themed and like other lessons basically on like how to do stuff. Like on
Is
how
the number one tip celibacy?
No, it is not. I know. But like the inside page says like to those searching for calm and quiet. So I haven't started reading it yet, but I'm looking forward to reading that. And then I also picked this up off Amazon while it was on sale.
What is that?
And you may be wondering, as DJ asked, what this is.
Coloring.
It's the 30th edition or the 30th anniversary edition of the original Star Wars role-playing game, the pen and paper game. So this is actually the game where the Arabic alphabet started. Like it was created for this game and then ended up getting adapted by
Shout out to all of our D&D friendly listeners.
Is it good? Like, is it genuinely a good role-playing game, Will? Or is it just kind of like a novelty thing?
I've heard amazing about this edition specifically is supposed to be like boss.
Okay.
I've never played
like
it
Bruce
though.
Springsteen.
Yeah,
right.
Just like Bruce Springsteen. I've never played it though, so I'm kind of excited on trying to find a group to do it. I don't know when that's going to be because of the worldwide pandemic, but someday I'll play it and it'll be fun. But that's what I've acquired since we've last recorded. Some other news that's going on. EA Games has come out with a statement saying that there will be no new Star Wars games until the year 2022. So that throws my theory on Squadrons being an annual franchise right out the window.
Yeah.
But I don't know what else that would be besides the
Fallen
Jedi
Order 2?
sequel.
Yeah, I didn't expect anything next year anyways. Like
No?
a Jedi sequel is at the earliest 2022. I'm like, they might be doing Titanfall 3. Who knows? Like there's I don't know that's necessarily even
Don't
that
say
close.
that, DJ.
So.
I mean, at least
we
now
could will it into existence.
At least now we have to look forward to where it'll probably be just like a pure next gen game instead of being one that is kind of like cross gens. But
I wonder I think they'll probably have some ports. Like they've been deporting, like they had episode 1 Bracer, Jedi Academy games, all that stuff
keep
last
people
year.
happy that way.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if like, Rogue Squadron 1 and 2 coming to Switch, KOTOR finally again coming to Switch. They're never going to remake it, but they'll do like a remaster thing. I wouldn't be surprised if those still happen.
But this is a Star Wars only conversation. But Will, you should play Titanfall 2 because I know you haven't.
Oh no, I have not. I did download that off Games Pass though, because it's on there now.
Ooh.
So I will be giving it.
You should do that. You should
giving it a go. I've heard good things. I've heard the campaign's pretty good. Then the next piece of news is we got a little bit of details on Leslie Headland's TV series coming up.
Right.
About how it's going to be based in a unfamiliar timeline setting about characters that we do not know anything about. It's going to be female led, and it's going to be a martial arts show, and it's going to be in the vein of Indiana Jones in space. I don't know why she just
Star Wars.
I don't know why she just didn't confirm right there that it's going to be Dr. Aphra.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly what it sounds like it's going to be.
Yeah.
I saw some
people saying, yeah, that's awesome. I saw some people saying that it's like, it can't be Dr. Aphra because it's an unfamiliar timeline. And to me, I'm just like, to any Star Wars writer who's like not super into the canon, anything that's not the 9 movies is unfamiliar territory, you know? Yeah. So like Dr. Aphra, that fits in. Like that's probably all she means.
Let's say, for example, just for our audience, what's the deal with Dr. Aphra?
Dr. Aphra is like the archaeologist for hire that used to work for Darth Vader, finding like Sith and Jedi relics and stuff like that. And then, I mean, I guess her current comic run now is far enough along. This isn't, if you want to jump onto it now, this is kind of like her old comic run was like she was working for Vader, and then Vader attempted to kill her. So she faked her own death to break out of Vader and stop working for her. So now she just like is doing adventures on her own.
So she basically, this is like between 3 and 4 stuff.
Her first comic is the one that's going on now.
No, her first comic is the Vader comic is after 4, in between 4 and 5.
Yes.
So I don't know what their actual run is.
The one that's going on right now is like post Return of the Jedi, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
But I haven't read any of it because I've fallen out of the comics.
Yeah.
So she's an archaeologist.
Yeah.
So this that makes that I see. Okay. When I said for the audience, I meant for me because I have no idea who this person is.
Right. But she has like 2 droids that work with her.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would be a pretty cool show. I would
the show will be fun, 100%.
But we do need to go. I know we don't read comics, but we do need to go out and get Darth Vader #7 that just came out.
Speak for yourself, Will.
Have you already got it?
I don't have it, but I read comics. Okay.
Oh no, I'm saying like you're not up to date on the Star Wars ones.
Though. I'm not up to date, but I read the Star Wars comics.
Okay, but like we need to get Darth Vader #7 because that's the issue that's got Ochi of Bestoon and the Eye of Webbish Bog.
Right.
The Spider Baby returns specifically for us, just like how Jon Favreau brings back Amy Sedaris to hurt me. Star Wars brings back the Eye of Webbish Bog to help me.
What I should do is the first thing on this wall behind me that I should have in my YouTube space. I should just have a framed picture of that comic. I shouldn't even have the cover. I should just literally turn the page and just kind of rip it out and then frame it.
Yeah, just frame that
to
page.
Where there's the Eye of the Webbish Bog right there. That would be good.
That would be great. And then
nothing else.
Yeah, just that though. Then the last piece of news though is from the Star Wars Archives book that's being released, where it's follow up to the Star Wars Archives that came out a couple years ago. That was like the whole behind the scenes, like in-depth interview with George Lucas about the making of the original trilogy. That author Paul Duncan followed up with George Lucas to make another one about the prequel trilogy, and there's even parts about the special edition as well. And in that interview, George Lucas revealed at some point his plan for the sequel his sequel trilogy was going to include a 14-year-old female Jedi, and Darth Maul was going to be this like crime syndicate leader villain, and he was going to have an apprentice named Darth Talon, I think is what the name was, and like they were like the main bad guys or whatever. And I'm asking for that book for Christmas, so I'm pretty hype about it if that's the kind of stuff that's going to be in there, because I wasn't too sure like what really he's going to say about the prequels, because there's really not that much documented about the prequels compared to the original trilogy. So
maybe Santa will slip that one under the tree for you.
Yeah. I don't know, do you guys have any thoughts on that at all? Because when I looked into it a little further, it just sounded like what his idea for Maul was for the sequel trilogy he kind of did in Clone Wars.
And the 14-year-old Jedi Padawan type thing is definitely just Ahsoka.
Just Ahsoka.
So. Yeah. So I don't know. These kind of things, whenever there's like a huge discourse about these kind of things, it always bothers me, because I'm just like, every creator has so many ideas that they write. I would love to just get a hold of that man's all the stuff that's in his journal that he has not talked about and published, or just like in his mind. Like if we just crack that baby open and just look at all the things, the internet would go insane, because they'd be like, look at all these ideas we could have had. And just like, yeah.
Well, plus it's not like George isn't known for changing his mind over time either. So it's not like like it's not even that detail should not even have been like this is what it would have been. It's just like, well, it could have been.
It was an idea I had one time.
I mean, leave it to the internet though. Of course they took it, picked it up and ran with it way farther than they needed to run with it. But
just another excuse to bash the sequels, pretty much.
I mean, just like as much as they ran away with that, the internet is still a whole week later big mad about Sebastian eating those frog babies in last week's episode of The Mandalorian. Like, and it really stinks too, because it's kind of revealed that Pablo Hidalgo is not the I don't know. He had some very suspect tweets, and it's pretty unfortunate because
I think we're going to avoid that one.
Yeah. He's such
Speaking of tweets.
Yeah, he's such a great he was such a good Twitter follow, and he's such a knowledgeable person within the Lucasfilm story group. But it'll be interesting to see if something plays out with that. Yeah.
Not a fun place to be.
But yeah, I just don't understand why people are still so big mad about that. But
okay. I think
okay, you go, Jackson.
Okay, Jackson.
I think that the question ethically, morally is interesting. I think people maybe care a lot, and the people who care too much about not wanting to hear that people care about it.
Right.
It's one of those internet things where it's like, stop talking about this. It's like, oh, we just kind of mentioned it. To what degree,
like when we talked about it last week. Sorry, but when we talked about it last week, like we didn't like dive into it too much, and then like over the week I saw like some actual like good criticism of it, and I was like, yeah, okay, like and then it just gets memed to hell, so it just doesn't even matter anymore. Like and then it becomes like a completely toxic situation anyways. So
like I think
it was kind of a
I think it was
situation.
Variety had that article that was like Baby Yoda is canceled for committing genocide. And it was
which is like not the approach they should take here.
Yeah. But something that is not causing any controversy in a bad way at all is this week's episode of The Mandalorian, Chapter 11.
If it is, then I'm going to be so mad. Who could possibly say anything bad about this?
So let's dive into it, boys, because this was a great episode all around from start to finish. It was only 35 minutes in length, but it is a jam-packed 35 minutes.
Packed. Tight 30.
I remember as soon as I hit play now, I'll hit like the up button on my remote to see what the runtime is, so I know what I'm in for. But
and when you saw the 35, you're like, oh no, because you just figured it wasn't a consequential
you just never know. But man, they were swinging. It's just like how we thought last week. If we were going into this, we were like, are we going to be doom and gloom,
or are
we going to get some story, just like we did in season 1, where chapters 1 and 3 were the big story moments. This one it takes even a step further though, because firstly, the episode starts off with them limping along, and they reach the planet that they're supposed to be going to, so that way they can reunite Frog Lady,
Trask,
VIP, yes, Trask, with her husband, so that she can get them eggs fertilized. And like the ship's
no, we're not getting it. Never mind. Never mind. No.
The ship's fertilized. The ship's falling apart, and they have to have a little bit of a rough landing, and they crash into the water.
This was a really good sequence. Ludwig in this episode, this whole episode, my man putting in work
for it.
Yeah, you love your boy Ludwig, that's for sure.
I mostly joke. I generally just kind of like it. This episode, I was like, the man was doing it.
Yeah. There's some good music here. So there's a sequence where he's like getting through the atmosphere. He's fallen to the ground, and like at the very last second has to kick his engines on just to give enough resistance so that way they can land. But then it doesn't work, and they fall into the water, and they have to be pulled out from a crane. And he goes up to like that Mon Calamari guy that's sitting there, and he gives him some money, and it's just like, can you fix this for me? And he's like, I'll try. And he's like, all right. So
that one crane, by the way, it looked like it was a converted AT-AT. I don't know if you noticed that too.
Yeah, it's the same.
I thought that was a cool detail, because I was just like, oh, like now they've worked 5 years post the war, or not the war, but it's obviously still going, but like post Return of the Jedi, it's like, oh, some planets are starting to reclaim some of this technology and kind of just doing weird stuff like making it in the crane. So I was pretty into that.
Right. But that I don't know what that one's called, but I just call it the crane AT-AT. But you know where else it's appeared before, DJ?
Jedi Fallen Order?
No.
Okay, I was gonna guess it was like that
Star
shipyard
Wars story.
Thing. Solo, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
It's in the opening when they're building that Star Destroyer when Han's cruising.
Solo 2 happen.
Yeah.
Indeed.
But yeah, so he goes to like the bar, and he gets the chowder for Sebastian because he's hungry. But before we get in, he never eats. Before we get into the bar, though, Frog Lady finds Frog husband.
Oh, such a good moment.
The love between those two. She's darting across the dockyard with her arms outstretched, and he's doing the same. And
yeah,
you just gotta love a good romance.
I know. They look
Frog
like old
Lady
people at
and
airports.
Frogman are the MVPs of The Mandalorian season 2, for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
They're
gonna come back for episode 8 when we have the gang back together moment, for sure.
And they're gonna have an army of children. So like when they're in this bar or whatever, like he's got the chowder, Sebastian does, Baby Yoda child, and there's like a squid that pops out of it and is like suctioned onto his face, and Mando's like, quit playing with your food, and stabs the little thing so it goes back into his chowder. And he's like, I need to find people that are like my kind. And the server is like, well, I know someone who can help you. And he goes and gets this nice CD looking Davy Jones type man, and he's like, yeah, I know where to take him, but it's just like a couple hour what does he use, couple hours sail or something like that. I can't remember the
all those
actual
knots.
Yeah,
cruise.
all those boating terms. But he's like, yeah, I can take you there, but it'll cost you. And they're on the boat like watching, and everyone, remember before the season started, everyone was nitpicking the trailer, and it's like, oh man, they go to Camino, they're gonna find
But you know what, a fair guess.
Yeah,
a fair guess, because we did have that tease in season 1. That was fine. It's funny how both those planet predictions we all had of Ilum and Camino, just nope, they're just very random planets happened in the first 3 episodes. They don't matter at all.
But so like they're cruising on the water or whatever, and they have like a creature that's like underneath the deck of the ship or whatever that they're going to feed. And they're like, have you ever watched one of these feed before? You should get up there nice and close and take the child with you up there too. And he's like, all right, we'll look, because like the child is just like, I watch. And he's like, okay, let's get up to the edge here. And he pushes Sebastian into the creature. The creature swallows him.
This is so...
Mando dives in after him because, like, dad mode's engaged with Mando.
Yeah.
Whether he wants to admit it or not. So, like, he dives in after him. They close a gate over the top so Mando can't get out. And they're, like, stabbing him because they want his Beskar armor so that way they can sell it for...
In my head, I'm just like, that beast is going to rip that apart. Like, I don't know what you guys are going to do here, man.
But, like, while this is happening, though, these 3 other Mandalorians show up, and as soon as you see that armor,
you see that like face thing, the little marks.
You see the helmet of Bo-Katan. Like, I immediately screamed and was just so happy. I mean, even with that have being a rumor of her showing up, it still hit. And it hit so hard. Yeah, and she teased it by tweeting yesterday.
Yeah.
Is it Friday yet? And then it was like, well, she's
TGIF, am I right?
Yeah, she's either an actress that's just ready for the weekend, like we all are,
and then you look at the title,
cheeky.
Yeah, and then you look at the title card for the episode, and it's like the Heiress, and I'm just like, that is her. And even like me today, like I couldn't watch the episode till after work, and I muted words, but there's no way for me to mute everything. Like I saw a couple things squeak through, and I was like, I'm pretty sure Bo-Katan's gonna get him here. So even though I was pretty much knew it was going to happen, when it does, I was like shocked. Like I almost fell on the ground. Like it was incredible.
And it's such a well done reveal. Were you going to say something, Jackson?
Yeah, I was going to say, Will and I took this one to the DMs, and I'm watching it, and I'm like, okay, here we go. And I always underestimate how much I care, because I was like, okay, I didn't really know, and then she showed up, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm so excited about this. I'm so happy, and I was like, oh, I'm pretty sure. And then I was like, I recognize that armor, and I was like, I'm smart, I know.
Yeah,
I'm smart.
I don't get hyped that often for stuff, but this is the most hype I've been since episode 8 Throne Room. 100%.
DJ hasn't felt a thing since.
I haven't felt anything since that moment.
That's the first time I've seen DJ emotions was when he was watching this episode.
Yep.
But yeah, what a great reveal, and like the action sequence when they're like beating these people up to help save them.
It's incredible.
It's so well done. Like from the choreography, the filming, the editing to it, and like they're such a well-oiled machine, just the 3 of them too, where
you can see the difference from Mando.
Yeah. You can,
and even between the 3 of them, they had different kind of fighting styles.
Right. And like they were all kicking some butt, and then he was like, the child's down there, and I need my baby. And then the one Mando's like on it and dives underneath the water, and then you can just see like their gunshots under the water as they're fighting that creature, which was awesome. And then they fly out with the baby and give Sebastian back, and he's like, oh, I'm so glad to have you back, because I'm a dad now, whether I want to be this tough Mandalorian or not. And
Will, nerd question for you before we move on. So the names of these 2 Mandos, we know them now, but like, is there any significance? Are they part of family lines? Do you know it yet, or no?
I don't think so.
Do you think they're all new? Okay.
I think they're just new for this show.
Okay, that's good.
I mean, I could be wrong, but I've definitely, because like the whole Sasha Banks thing, the rumor was she was going to be Sabine, but
I thought she was, because I was looking at her fighting style. I was like, maybe.
Yeah, when she showed up, I was like, is she gonna be Sabine? But no, then, like, she's some character.
I saw the subtitle. Yeah,
it's like Casca Reeves, and then her acting credit too is under her real name, not her wrestler name. It's under Mercedes Vernado.
That's probably a Vince McMahon thing.
Yeah, I mean, it just shows how much kayfabe doesn't matter in the pro wrestling world anymore. That's a whole other thing, though.
Let's dive in. Let's do it right now. Let's do a 20-minute tangent right now.
But yeah, so like they help save Sebastian or whatever, and like Mando's thankful, obviously, and then they all take their helmets off, and Mando has like that same reaction with Cobb Vanth, where he's just like, "Oh no, fakes again." He's like, "Where did you get that armor?" And she's like, "I'm Bo-Katan." with my line. I fought in the Siege of Mandalore, and like it gave enough back filler in 2 sentences for you to be on board without ever watching the previous material that she's in. Like she gave you like the good Wikipedia summary where you can be like, oh,
Yeah.
she's somebody that means something in Mandalore culture.
It's also still like it's I don't know how you could have done it where it is enough, but it's not quite enough just because like you don't know like the people that haven't watched the Clone Wars don't know like the original politics of Clone War or Mandalore, sorry, because it's like I know all my friends that watch the show that are not into that stuff, they just kind of assume like Mandalorians are like a warrior culture completely, which is like not true.
Yeah.
Like as recently as like the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Like it's so that kind of stuff gets like a bit touchy. I don't know how they're gonna handle it. We'll see.
It was interesting. I literally had dinner with my brother like 20 minutes before we started recording, and he's like watching Mandalorian like as it comes out, and he's like, yes, warrior lady, she's cool. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of all you need. Like, you know that she's a big deal.
Yeah,
she's the big deal.
She's the heir to the throne.
We're gonna get him into Clone Wars though.
I wish we could have like I wish there was like a way of monitoring Disney Plus streams. I'm very curious what the Mandalorian arcs of Rebels and Clone Wars are like streaming wise right now, because I feel like a lot of people are going to be going to those episodes for either the first time
catch up
as a refresher.
We'll probably get to that near the end, but like kind of the way they're bringing it in.
We'll definitely get to that by the end. But go ahead.
One
DJ.
other note I had about this scene is that like there's she calls like the Death Watch like a cultist, and like I was like thinking about that in my head, and I was like thinking back to season 1, and I was like, I guess like he was like a part of that thing. I didn't like fully like conceive that. I just like, oh, he's a Mandalorian, but I didn't like fully conceive, okay, this is how he was brought up, and this is like his ideas of what like Mandalore culture is. Because when I watched season 1, I'm like, this is what Mandalore culture is at this point in the galaxy, which is like with Bo-Katan back, like probably not true. Like they're probably we're probably going to go back to something more similar to what the old way was. And I'm just thinking like for new fans who this show is their introduction, how are they going to react to someone who's like, yeah, I take my helmet off? Like, is that something that's going to be sacred to some people because Mando was the one that brought it in? I don't know. I'm curious how that will kind of play out.
I thought that was a great way of explaining him not taking his helmet off, is because his group is called the Children of the Watch. And
which is
she's
good.
just like
a good name.
She just like looks him in the eye, and it's just like, you're in a cult.
It's interesting to because like Mando doesn't seem like super into like maybe the cult like tendencies of his sect of the thing. It's also like that's just what he knows. Like it's not like the Mandalorians kind of grew up on a planet together. Like literally the exact opposite. So he's just kind of like, well, this is the way. But when that's just all that he's known, because
and they even play into that later when he's like, because him and Bo-Katan kind of throughout the episode kind of butt heads with each other. And there's even that one part like later on in the episode where she like really sassily says like, this is the way. like after they have like a little mini argument or whatever. And I think I just think that's pretty funny. But
I think also this might be the way, because there's rumors that like Pedro Pascal some of these are blown out of proportion, as we all know, but like there was some rumors that like he was going to take the helmet off more, which like some of them were like actual real rumors, so I imagine this is probably the direction we're going in. He's going to, this is how they're going to do it, which makes sense.
Well, that rumor came from is because he apparently filmed more himself this season compared to last season, and that would only make sense for him to actually be in the suit if he's going to start taking his helmet off more.
I hope so. He's got a pretty face.
But what's going to be interesting is next week is chapter 4, and according to a very notoriously unreliable internet tabloid reporter, halfway through the season, there's supposed to be a severe tonal shift, because this is when Pedro Pascal leaves the set because the baby Yoda is too big of a star. And so, but
it's the Ahsoka Tano show. That's
so great banter here, and she's like, we need your help with something, and he's like, no, I've got my own thing I gotta do, and
I've been quested.
He's been quested to return the child to his own kind, and he takes off with Sebastian and gets back to shore and like watches that. This shot though is so awesome when the three of them fly up from the boat and then it blows up under. It's like watching a spaceship go to space. It was so cool, and it's just shot beautifully. And then so like he starts walking and gets confronted by all these goons, and they're just like, "You killed my brother," and he's like, "Oopsie whoopsie," and they're getting ready to fight him. And then Bo-Katan and the two other Mandalorians show up, and she's like, "He didn't kill your brother. I did." And then more kick butt action happens. They're like over there karate chopping and doing all kinds of cool stuff. And
the action
they take the action figures, and then
they bought a new set. Now there's more of them.
Yeah, they got the Mando expansion set, so now they have all of them. But so they go to the bar and like they're talking, and they're like, "There's a ship that's got some weapons that we need. If you help us, then I'll tell you where the Jedi are." Because she's like, "What do you know about the Jedi?" And he's like, "Nothing. I was hoping you would."
And she was like, "I know a lot about."
She's like, "I know a lot about these Jedi. Let me tell you." She's like, "I've got 2 TV series about these Jedi."
You didn't watch Rebels?
Yeah, it was very awkward when Bo-Katan looked at the camera and like listed off the episodes she's in from Clone Wars and Rebels. And then there was like a little hot link that you could click on that takes to her Wikipedia page, so you can learn about her. But yeah, so he's like,
now streaming on Disney Plus.
Yeah, now streaming. It's like I was telling the Jackson when he was sliding into my DMs as he was watching. I was like, Bo-Katan's the perfect character to bring in because everyone just re-upped their subscription because that ran out last week.
Oh my god!
No,
literally yesterday was 1 year
as we
anniversary.
Record this was the 1 year. So everyone just subscribed again, and then if they haven't watched the animated series yet, they've got all of that content to go through now. Perfect plan, perfect planning, perfect timing. It was interesting.
It's not.
You didn't.
It still works. Like it still works as the story. It's not like
it does still work. But I'm saying like Bo-Katan was the perfect
pretty
character
convenient
to do that.
Yeah, obviously.
And Jackson almost nailed it with his prediction too, that they were going to do something in this episode that would make people subscribe again. But we were a day late on when the renewal date came. But man, you were almost on it. That was a good call.
Makes you think.
It does make you think. So like Mando decides that he's going to help them out. So he goes back to the Frog homestead to drop off Sebastian for them to watch and like
babysit.
Yeah, to babysit. And one of their eggs is hatching already. So the fertilization process apparently goes very fast.
Pretty quick.
And so like there's like a tadpole swimming around in that egg tank, and the child has his face right up against it and is cooing at the and it's like, is he supposed to like think that's cute now after he was just like swallowing eggs the previous episode?
This is when Mando goes, "Be good, you know what I mean."
Yeah.
Such a dad.
So like this is when the episode really just from here on out is just perfection. Chef's kiss.
I went like this, which is weed, and that's not what I meant.
Yeah, toke it up, Jackson. That's how good it was. It was like a good dang weed.
A good strain. It was a good strain of that episode.
So like there's this giant freighter ship flying that the Imperials have that is full of weapons that they're gonna try and steal. So the Mandalorians land on like the outer deck or whatever, take care of business of those stormtroopers that are monitoring, and like one of them gets to an intercom and it's like, "The pirates are back, they're gonna take things," and it like cuts inside to the bridge of the ship, and there's like an Imperial officer, and they're like, "Well, let's take care of these pirates and not let it get any worse than this." So like the Mando raid on this ship begins, and there's just every corridor shot from within the ship is just I don't have a word to describe it besides perfect. Like
every frame a painting.
Every frame is a painting. Like the way that it tracks the action as they go down the hallway, the way that it angles up from them shooting back and forth, every interior shot that happens is fantastic. And then there's like the point. Were you just agreeing, or do you have something you want to say?
I was just agreeing.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Yeah. But like, what'd you guys think about this action stuff overall? Like,
I thought it was like, it was really good. Like I loved it. It was surprisingly brutal. I thought like there's that one scene where like she pulls out like the arm thing, like the Assassin's Creed style hidden blade on her arm, and she like punches the dude like in the neck where there's no armor on like the stormtrooper thing, and I was like, this is kind of surprising. I didn't expect this. I'm into it, but like, yeah, punch that dude in the throat. Let's do it. But like,
yeah, this is the kind of like, I don't want to say the child holds Mando back, but in a sense, it's kind of hard to be like, he's got this kid with him. He can't really they've got to like find ways for him to be able to kind of really go all out in terms of action. And this is good. This is good stuff.
This is like the first time in the show where I don't know if a kid could watch this.
Well,
could they?
I did notice on my second watch through, this episode is rated TV 14V for violence. So like it's pretty edgy.
Oh yeah,
this
it made me feel cooler watching it.
Yeah, I felt so cool. I wanted to smoke a cigarette. That's how cool this episode made it look. But like, this goes back to like with the first episode, the fight choreography this season is just such an improvement on how everything went down last year. I don't know if they got better stunt performers or a better stunt coordinator, or maybe like everyone's just so much more in this season compared to last season, but the fights are just I mean, it does help when you have one actress that's a professional wrestler, another actress who's in really good shape, and Katie Sackhoff, and then like neither of the Mandalorian's stunt doubles or Pedro Pascal are not in good shape either. So I mean, they have the talent to actually pull off some pretty good action sequences. So this fighting stuff, and going back to just how everything's shot, the cinematographer for this episode, it's a new person. It's Matthew Jensen, and he was the director of photography for Wonder Woman, a bunch of Game of Thrones episodes, Josh Trank's Fantastic Four, and Chronicle.
Okay. The Trank Man.
Interesting world filmography.
Yeah, so
I can see the Wonder Woman through line, honestly. As soon as you said that, I was like, yeah, I can see a lot of that. So.
Yeah, I can too. But he just did such a spectacular job of like filming the action sequences. It's just very good. But then also big shout out to, like, on top of like filming this stuff, like Bryce Dallas Howard's direction this entire episode is like chapter 4 in last season is not one of my favorites, but that's just because it was the Seven Samurai storyline that I've seen played through a billion times.
I like it a lot.
It's a good episode. I like that one. It really is. But like,
it's one of my favorites.
The direction was good, but never really stood out. But like, she really showed her skill set in this episode. Like, I think she did a phenomenal job with directing everything. And I was the first person to say it on Twitter this morning, but a lot of people have hopped onto the train now. But I'm going to say it again. Give Bryce Dallas Howard Solo 2 or whatever the Solo sequel is on Disney+.
Yeah, I'd be into that.
Because then her dad could be the executive producer. She could direct it. It would have the whole family thing behind the scenes, because like John Kazin's Lawrence Kazin's son. And I think it'd be a good fit to see end up happening. I could see that. Yeah. So
yeah, it's a good vehicle for her.
Yeah. I think it was she did a spectacular job. And if she doesn't get like Solo 2 and goes on to do like feature films and stuff like that, I'm pretty interested to see how that career of hers will take off.
Yeah, Bryce Dallas Howard's not one of those like actresses, at least I think about very often. But like, I'd be curious to follow her directorial career.
Yeah, like I know I've seen her in things, But like anytime I like think of her as an actress, I think of her running in the heels in Jurassic World.
She plays Gwen Stacy.
Oh, that's right, she does in Spider-Man 3.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was thinking Amazing
they do the
Spider-Man, and I
dip.
was just like, wait a minute. But now I remember. I didn't even remember that Gwen Stacy was in that movie.
With Eddie Brock. They're dating.
Yeah, she's also in an episode of Black Mirror too, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, she's in that fancy one with the cell phones or whatever.
Yeah. But yeah, I can't give enough props just for the direction and the filmography of this episode. I'm just gonna say it. I think it was better than episode 1 or chapter 9.
I agree.
I think it was a very, very good job all around from a production standpoint. Even from a story standpoint as well, though. But so like as they're fighting the Empire here, or the Imperials, I should say, because the Empire's dead, they like get separated off in the cargo control room. And like the Imperial's like, yeah, we've got them. They're trapped now. And he's like, well, where did you trap them at? He's like, oh, the cargo control room. He's like, the where? And then they hit the button, and then they all fly out the cargo area.
This was like a good bit of comedy in this episode too.
Yeah,
sometimes Star Wars goes like, I find that Star Wars isn't necessarily like a funny like series or whatever, but this was a good joke. Like they have their bits, but
this was like good.
They're weird aliens.
This is like Han Solo in the original Star Wars. Everything's all right.
I was just gonna say that it had that same kind of vibe. But like, so they start having like a back and forth with this Imperial officer because they're like, oh, we're not just taking the weapons, we're gonna take this entire ship. And the Imperial commander is like, ha, I'd like to see you try. So like as soon as he's done talking to them, he goes onto this hologram, and we finally get Moff Daddy Gideon.
Here he is.
Who we've been waiting for, and he's like, we need backup. They're gonna take the ship. And he's like, are these the pirates who have been giving our other ships trouble? And he's like, yes, it is. And he's like, well, how much of the ship have they taken? And he's like, everything but the bridge, but we just need some backup and we'll be okay. And he's like, at this point, there's nothing we can do. You know what to do. And what's the line that they say?
Long live the Empire.
Yeah, long live the Empire. And he's like, long live the Empire. And they nailed how the Empire needs to feel in this era of Star Wars to me. Because I think that's where the novels of the new canon and like even the video games are kind of getting the Empire wrong.
They're like borderline cultists themselves at this point.
Yeah, and they're like in Squadrons and some of the other novels, like they try to humanize these Imperial people. But like in the original trilogy, like the Empire is just bad. They're just the big bad, and that's all they are. They're just do or die. Long live the Empire, basically. And I love how this has that feel where it's like just like how at the end of World War II, which is where like the original inspiration for like what they think should be happening is like when the Nazis were fleeing Germany, they all went to Argentina because they were going to regroup there and then start over again, which is like what the basis of what Operation Cinder had become or whatever. But like that's the feeling I get here, where it's still, they're just like, we're going to regroup, we're going to reform the Empire, we're taking everything back. All we've done is lost the Emperor and the Death Star, but we're still here, baby. And
as we know, like they do in some way.
Well, I think that is, we'll get to this too when we finish kind of talking about the episode, but like, so like obviously the Mandalorians, like there's another great action shot where they're like storming down the corridor and they get pinned down by the stormtroopers, and like there's too many stormtroopers that can't figure things out. And this is when Mando has like his moment where he's like, well, these are my people. I gotta help my brothers here. So like he takes out those 2 grenades and is like, cover me. And since he's got that Beskar steel, he's just taking stormtrooper shots to the chest like it's nothing. And he eventually gets close enough to where he like falls down, but he chucks the grenades out in time and takes all of them out. And so, I mean, that's a pretty good scene. And then they end up taking the bridge because what the Imperial commander is trying to do now is like intentionally crash the ship, where it's just like, well, no one's getting this stuff to protect the Empire's greater good. And so like they break into the bridge, they pull the pilot off the seat, Mando and I already forget what Reeves, whatever Sasha Banks' character is called, Casca Reeves. They're both piloting the ship to try and straighten it out. Bo-Katan has the Imperial commander and has like the Assassin's Creed blade to his
Hidden
neck,
blade.
and he's like, she's like, he has something of mine that I need. Does he still have it? And he's
right
like,
here.
well,
I was like, yeah.
And he's like, well, if you're asking, he's like, if you're asking, then you already know the answer. And she's like, if I'm going to take back Mandalore, I need that Darksaber. And she's like, so I'm going to let you live so you can tell me where he is. And he's like, you can let me live, but he wouldn't. And then he bites his tooth down, and there's like Force lightning cyanide pill type deals. So like, again, like that's very post World War II Nazi Empire big bad,
in it to win it
attitude. And it was great. And I love how the like lightning effect they did, like a throwback to how Palp's lightning and Return of the Jedi felt, where it was like just subtle enough to like outline the skeleton, and then he was like done.
The scene is really good too, in that it is very casually throwing out more lore for everyone that is not caught up. It's just like, I need that Darksaber to rule Mandalore, and it's like that,
of course
you do. I feel like that's not something you would say in this situation normally, but it works perfectly because it's just like, here you go. Here's your explanation for what we're doing here, why we need this thing.
Right. So now people that are unfamiliar with it can be like, well, why does she need this Darksaber? Like, what's the deal with this? We thought it was just a cool black lightsaber from the season finale. There's more to the story here.
We should watch the Clone Wars and Rebels. Streaming now on Disney.
Now streaming on Disney Plus.
We should ask our friends DJ to make a list for us. DJ Will Jackson. Make the list. You can do it.
But so like when they get the ship under control or whatever, and they're just like, there's still a battle to be fought here. We need your help. And he's like, well, I can't. I got my own thing.
I'm quested.
I'm on my quest. I have to return this baby to the Jedi. And then we get the moment. They don't even hint at it. It just straight up happens. Bo-Katan is like, go to this moon of this forest planet.
It's like Paladin and Corvus or something. I can't remember the names, but they're new planets, I think.
He's like, find Ahsoka Tano and tell her Bo-Katan sent you. And like, I screamed because I didn't think they were gonna just straight name drop Ahsoka Tano. I thought it was going to be like when she shows up, it'll be like,
it's the Leonardo DiCaprio meme. He just points to the TV.
And so like it's happening. Like we know it's happening now. And
it's probably Dave's episode.
There's 100% chance it's going to
be. Now we're just in it now. So what I was thinking, I had two theories, because the original rumor was that like the Ahsoka episode was going to be like kind of a backdoor pilot. So like, I wonder if we find her next episode. Like, I wonder if next episode is another diversion episode, and we just get thrown right back into this like back and forth, big story diversion, or if we're gonna find her and then the next episode would just be about like her and Rex or something. Who knows? Like, I don't know.
I see what you're saying.
I don't know.
You said that was just your first theory?
That was my original theory, and then my other theory was just like, it's probably just going to be a diversion episode next week because I need to set my expectations right, and then we'll just get the actual find Ahsoka in episode 5.
That's why I'm so glad they did name drop Ahsoka, because now I know for a fact, I can't say for a fact, I have no knowledge, but there's just no way she's appearing in an episode that is not Dave Filoni's. There's just no way when it's that close. in my mind.
Yeah.
So that's 2 weeks from now, which means next week, which
I can see her showing up at the end. I can see like has to go through stuff and he finds her.
But like next week is Carl Weathers' episode, chapter 4.
Right.
Because that's the one he directed. And I also think it's going to be another side story filler episode, because the only footage that's left from the original trailer that we have not seen yet is the footage of him and Cara Dune on Navarro. So I
That makes
feel like
sense.
I feel like he might go to them to like try and find this moon, and they might
Yeah,
be
maybe he
along
doesn't
for
know
the
where it
rest of the
is.
way. Yeah, or
Yeah.
something like that.
Or
But
he hears that it's dangerous and he needs backups. He's like, I'll go get Cara Dune and my boy Griff
here,
Karga.
here's for everyone that's listening and everyone that's watching. Here's my challenge to our audience. Next week, I want everyone to film on their cell phones when this happens. When Cara Dune shows up on screen, I want everyone to boo her. And I want you to share it on our Twitter account with the hashtag Boo Dune.
We're gonna get blocked
Because
hard.
It's not hard,
Like-
DJ.
So I'm gonna say it one more time. I want everyone, when they're watching next week, to film the moment her character shows up and boo her. And that's it.
It's going to be an initiation process for our community now. Is that you have to be blocked by Gina Carano on Twitter in order. It's
You know
like an
what?
initiation. It's a rite of passage for
I wasn't
us.
gonna bring it up. I wasn't gonna talk about it. I didn't do anything aside from not liking her. But Gina Carano blocked me on Twitter last week. I didn't even do anything.
Yeah, that's my challenge to our listeners, though. But anyway, back on point though. Like, I'm glad we know that's how it's going to turn out, though, because now I know not to get too hyped up over how this episode ended. Know that we're having a nice side adventure next week because
It'll be fun with our
chapter,
old cast.
yeah, it'll be fun. But then that 5th episode is going to knock our socks off. But what's important about that, though, is unlike the 5th episode in chapter 1, which had that god-awful character knockoff Hayden Christensen, this chapter 5 should mean something, which means we are actually, in the broader scheme of things, getting more story as we go.
Mm-hmm.
Which means the only chance they have left to do a diversion episode would be episode 6, maybe.
Yeah, which would be
like,
okay,
because you can't do it
7
7-8.
and 8 won't be.
You're not doing a 7-8. Like, so at this point, like, you can kind of map out the rest of the season where it's going to kind of go here.
And I feel like we kind of got our answer from last week that we were wondering is if they're really going to go for it, or if it's going to be like season 1 where there's just kind of crumbs.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I get it now, what Mandalorian is. Like, the great
30 year words again.
Yeah,
a year and a half later.
A year
later.
What the Mandalorian is going for the greater canon is, I think this does lead up to how the First Order forms. I think so
what
too. Will impact the films. I think that's what's going to come from Mandalorian is how the First Order begins.
Yeah.
But what from the canon impact, this is just going to end up finishing what Filoni has been building since Clone Wars and that Mandalorian stuff. And that's fine because that makes all of the TV shows one long coherent unit. And the Mandalorian arcs are always the ones people like the most, or the ones people go back and visit the most. So like it makes sense why this would become that. And I think Jon Favreau's just as big a fan of those arcs, given that he was a voice actor for those characters and he was the show and everything. So like he's writing and approving these things to be happening. It's not like Dave's breathing down his neck, being like,
here, I wrote this.
Put Bo in, and he's like, yes, Dave, and starts writing. But, so like, I don't know. I had like, on top of how great this episode is, I had just like this great epiphany of clarity on finally what to expect out of the Mandalorian that I was so lost about last week that I didn't know where it was going. Yeah. It's just live action Rebels. It's a light. I mean, it's violent, which gave it the TV-14, but like this is very much something if I had a kid, I'd be watching all the time with. It's very much sit down with your kid and carry that on, which is so much better. It makes me have a way better appreciation for the whole thing overall now.
Yeah,
I thought it was really interesting. Like I said this to Will earlier, like even like the first season when they did kind of do capital A story stuff, it wasn't like capital A Star Wars stories stuff. Aside from like, who is this child that is of Yoda's species and Yaddle's species? So it's interesting to kind of be like, oh, we're just going for it now. Like Like Bo-Katan's in there, and they even like specifically mentioned Ahsoka already. So like we're just going for it. And honestly, like I love the Rebels crew, and I love like what they do with Obi-Wan and Anakin in Clone Wars. We could always kind of tell that like what they were doing was based around Ahsoka and like the Mandalore. Like that was kind of the through line between Clone Wars and Rebels, but also just like through those things as their own. So like TV Star Wars is these characters that they're like playing, and like Will just said, like it makes sense now. It's all coming together.
Yeah, and even then, like in that show, the only original characters in Clone Wars that people remember that are like not from the movies are Bo-Katan, Ahsoka, and Satine. Like, and then Rebels like obviously has their own kind of thing, but like those are like the ones people care about. So like it kind of makes sense that it's like this is the arcs that we're gonna take that we want here. So
well, what's funny to
me, I wonder too.
Go ahead, keep going.
I wonder about like if we are going down the First Order path. I wonder how much of the path is going to be the Baby Yoda stuff, like you were saying. Because like in my head, when we've been like talking about like, oh, bring him to his people, in my head it was like this huge planet full of the Yoda species. We're finally gonna find out all this stuff, but it seems more like it's going to be just the Jedi, and then that's kind of like it's evolving down too into he's just going to bring her to Ahsoka. Like I wonder what happens after that. Like is Ahsoka gonna bring him to like some new Jedi Order? Is it just going to be an excuse to get Ahsoka in so that they can do their other side show? Which is like either the direction's fine, but I wonder if that's kind of on the back burner now that I think we're kind of going more of a First Order Mandalore direction.
Well, I got two thoughts on that though. It's like one, what if this is actually leading to a de-aged Luke?
I know.
Like, what if he brings her Sebastian to Ahsoka, and she's like, "Well, I know one Jedi Master that's still around that's starting a new academy," and she tells him where to go find Luke. Because I almost think like since this is allegedly supposed to be like a backdoor pilot for Ahsoka, is Ahsoka's at this planet where Mando's going to her at, because this is like her pit stop on her quest for Ezra. And then I had this thought immediately as the episode ended too, because remember after chapter 1 where I said I was shook by the Boba appearance because I wasn't expecting him to be bald? Slap a gray beard on Tamora Morrison since he's bald already, and he can totally play Rex still. And he could be with Ahsoka still. Because they made Boba bald so that way it's easier for him to play both characters. That makes so much sense.
You know, one thought I just had now, you saying that could be interesting is what if the Baby Yoda stuff leads into, instead of leading to anything in Mandalorian, it all ties together to the Rebel sequel series where we have Ezra, Ahsoka, and then you bring in Luke. So you don't have to recast, you don't have to do anything, and we finally get like the New Republic establishing New Jedi Order, New Republic, everything. We finally get all that stuff in the new show. Maybe that is kind of like we're kind of building to that, and then that'll get pushed to that show, and then we'll continue on the First Order path here. Maybe that'll be something they do. That makes sense
for me, because like Endgame of Mandalorian, the show, is taking Baby Yoda to wherever he needs to go. Like that's still kind of like that's the goal. That's been the goal since the first episode, pretty much.
We might get it done in like episode 5 from the sounds of it. Like
at least like
we'll hit like a point on that journey, you know.
Here's an idea. Let's see what you guys think. What if he takes her to Ahsoka and she's like, I have no idea what to do with this thing? Or what if they do find a place to take you? There's no way at this point with dad mode engaged, he's letting the child go, right?
Yeah,
right.
I agree.
Yeah.
Like he's
like only to.
He's going to decide to keep the kid.
Yeah, I didn't mean what
directly
I said
to his people.
Yeah.
I didn't mean what I said in that like Luke, Ahsoka, and Ezra are gonna steal the baby and start a Jedi Academy. I just felt like that would be like our through line to get there. I didn't mean that they're gonna take it.
But no, they're gonna find this endpoint though, and it's gonna be like, okay, we made it. You're free now to do whatever. and then at the last second he's going to be like, but no, I want to keep him. I'm going to give him his own little Mandalorian helmet, and he's going to be part of my tribe.
I think the problem that we have in Star Wars now is like, you can't just end a show and have it be over. You have to see the character die. Like in the sequels, all the original people died. Even like now, we're like, oh, what's up? What's Ahsoka up to? And we're going to be asking those questions until we see her die on screen.
Well, I think whatever full series Ahsoka ends up, we're going to see Ahsoka die at some point soon.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
Which is like the thing,
because
like Star
it makes
Wars
sense
now.
because like even it's like canon in Rebels where you're just like, well, you would think a Jedi would come up in the sequel or in the original trilogy, and now I'm thinking about the same problem with the sequels where it's like you would think Ahsoka would come up if she was still alive, right? Like maybe they are going to eventually do that.
What if Mando joins her quest to find Ezra because he's also a Jedi? And then season 3
Mando crosses over,
and then season 3 kind of, well, because I've seen people online be like, I don't want this to be a Rebels sequel, I want everything to stand on its own. But like Rebels is kind of a Clone Wars sequel, but like it starts off with new people that you care about, so by the time it ends you care about Hera and Ezra and Thrawn and Kanan. So like this show's kind of following that same thing. You're going to care about the child. You're going to care about the Mando. We're not going to care about Cara Dune. You'll care about
Cargo.
You'll care about Grief Karga.
We care about Grief Karga.
Like, but like it's following that same format. We've got like established characters that we care about now. So like Ahsoka, Rex.
You know, even in the first season of Rebels, like they don't really do the Ahsoka thing until the last episode.
No, it's the finale.
Yeah,
you just see her. She doesn't even do anything.
And then she has like a small part in season 2, and then she's gone until almost the end of season 4, and then she shows up again.
Yeah, I hope we don't do that with Bo here. I hope Bo is in the show for a little bit. Same with Ahsoka.
I think she will.
Like
be.
I don't think it's going to be
this
a one
season's climax is getting her. The dark saber.
Because she's going to intersect with Moff Gideon, who has already intersected with Mando. I think this is like Moff Gideon's the big bad. It's just the way this show goes is they don't say that until the end.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like, I'm very excited to watch everything play out now that I've finally had like that moment of clarity on what they're going for. So like I just can't believe they actually confirmed Ahsoka and did not leave that to be a surprise moment.
I will say I'm a little more skeptical than I think you two are on like what this is about. I don't know if they lead into First Order.
You don't think so?
I
don't know.
I don't know. My thing with the show is that if you had asked me after episode 1 of the show, I would have said I know what everything of the show is about. And then we had episode 2, and then we threw everything out. We had our tantrum last week, and then now we're back on the train. Like I don't want to trust this show, honestly. And all the things we were talking about, I'm into it, and I love this show when I watch it. Like we've been over this, we've had this conversation, but I don't trust what it is yet. I'm gonna need this season to finish in order for me to be like, okay, this is what this show is.
When we're talking about it in relation to Clone Wars and Rebels, we're only talking about arcs of Clone Wars and Rebels. We're not talking about the entire series, because both those series have like random stuff happening all the time, good and bad. And, so like it's hard to tell. Like, what do you think about it?
It's easier with the run. It's easier when you have 22 episodes per season rather than 8. Like you can get away with it. So which is the difference here.
Yes, that's the thing is like it's following the same structure, but it doesn't have the space to do that really as much. So I'm still don't really know what they're doing yet.
Well, I mean, I at least know now I'm not going to get my heart broken next week just because I know Ahsoka is going to come in Dave's. I'm going to be able to keep myself in check. I know next week will be a fun episode, except for when we boo Cara Dune. But
it felt, you know what? I will say, aside from all the speculation, this was just a good episode to watch.
It was a great episode.
Yeah. It was cool to see Bo-Katan, but also like the episode itself was really good.
Yeah. It wasn't just hype for hype's sake. It was like there's things going on, and also the action was really good. Like it was not just like we're gonna bring Bo-Katan in because
Right.
It would be cool. Like
they made her make
wow.
sense for the story too.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you could have replaced her character with just a new Mandalorian, and that episode would have remained just, I think, pretty much as sound. It might not have had the same, like, as soon as you saw that helmet, like, you knew, but like the action and stuff would still remain largely the same.
Yeah.
Just great episode all around, though.
Oh yeah, I'm ready for what comes next.
Yeah, me too. But I don't know. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about with this episode at all?
One random thought I just had.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doubting the Sabine rumors after Bo-Katan shows up, and then Sabine's not there. I feel like that was when we would have seen her. So if she's not with Ahsoka either, then like we throw that one out the window. I think for the time being, like she could show up in season 3. But
who else is rumored
pretty
to be
doubtful
in
that's
the
gonna
series?
Happen. Pardon?
Besides Sabine was just Ahsoka.
Yeah. So
we already got Boba. So
we got Boba. We got Bo-Katan. We're getting Ahsoka.
I guess maybe it's just if Rex is with Ahsoka, my heart will sing. Yeah. I love that man.
Yeah.
Do you think we get? We've talked about this before. Do we think anything didn't leak? Like Ed Gabe? Probably not.
I mean, but we still haven't really seen any like plot stuff leak. We've just seen character stuff leak.
Yeah.
And like even one of my friends said this morning, he was like, it's a shame Lucasfilm revealed all these characters before the season started, so that way like we didn't actually kind of know. And I was like, well, that's the thing though. Lucasfilm didn't reveal any of these. It was all scoopers, because when Hollywood was locked down in the first time coronavirus was hitting our country, they had nothing to do but try and find out what the big Baby Yoda moment of season 2 was supposed to be. So that's how all that stuff got revealed. It was all the trades. Like Lucasfilm has never come out and said anything. They have not confirmed any of these characters, and then they show up, and then they're just like, "Hey, surprise!" And then,
gotcha.
Yeah, you had no idea that was coming.
Yeah.
Hey, here's the question: in 2 weeks, does Rosario Dawson tweet? Can't wait for Friday.
Does she have a Twitter?
Probably not. I don't know.
No.
Yeah, okay, here's my follow-up question. Boba Fett, why and what's he gonna do?
I'm starting to lean into the fact that he's not going to be in the rest of the show at all, and it's just going to be a mini series later. Yeah. We didn't touch on that news, but like that seems like it's going to happen.
To write that down as they're filming like a Boba Fett mini series apparently.
Which like I don't think we have much to talk about there, just because like we don't know what that's going to be.
About Boba Fett.
Yeah, like we don't know what's he gonna do. Like we might know by the end of the season. I kind of doubt it. I kind of think that might be it.
I think they're on to bigger and better things than Tatooine.
Yeah. I hope we stop going back to Tatooine. I mean, as much as I like as much as I like this season's episode, we don't got to keep going back to Tatooine.
You know who's on Tatooine?
Cobb Vanth.
Amy Sedaris.
Oh no. Jon Favreau is going to listen to this episode Monday, and he's going to be like, "That's it.
We got rewrites.
We're rewriting and bringing Tatooine back for one more episode."
Yeah. So what you're saying is in that episode, Boba Fett should have just turned to the camera, winked, and been like, "Now streaming on Disney Plus, Boba Fett the series."
Wouldn't that be funny though? If like he does run into Boba at some point, and he's like, "That's my armor." And he's like, "Excuse you, what do you mean? You're not a Mandalorian." He's like,
I mean, I guess Mando still has the armor.
Yeah. And he's just
so like there's a through on there that you could follow at some point.
What if Boba's been trailing him this whole time? And maybe next episode he catches up with them.
Maybe.
And he's just like, "That my armor is based off my father's armor.
Maybe that's episode 6.
The Rings of Bogda."
Episode 6.
That could be episode 6.
Like that would fit in, and like that's like your diversion episode before we get into like the actual main story. Mm-hmm. That would be a good way to, because like we talk about like episode 1 where it was like it's diversion episode, but it has like these other through lines with Cobb Vanth and like Boba, so that would make sense if
we do go back to Tatooine though. Is Dr. Mandible going to make an appearance?
Yeah, absolutely.
We have to have. I hope he's working with Amy Sedaris in her shop.
Yeah,
like, he's just chilling, but I don't know. Great
Before
episode
we go,
overall.
I have one other question.
Yes.
I saw some scuttlebutt and I couldn't figure out if it was true yet because I had to hook up a PS5 and watch this episode in between now and recording and working. Is Bo-Katan's voice actress doing like the helmet stuff when she has the helmet on? Is that a thing that's happening?
That is Katie Sackhoff.
Bo-Katan is Katie Sackhoff. She's just playing her character.
Okay.
Yeah.
I saw someone say that the voice actress from Clone Wars is like doing the voice when she has the helmet on, and I was just curious if that was actually
that's the
true.
same.
The
physical actress is.
Oh my god, she is. Yeah, she's the voice
Katie
actress.
Sackhoff's got a weird filmography. I just looked it up during the episode. She's been in some weird stuff. She's been in multiple video games, but she's also like video games are serious. She's also a serious actress.
Yeah. But DJ, you
embarrass yourself. As soon as you said that, I was like, "Oh yeah, she is." Yeah, I saw some tweet where someone said it's the same person from the voice actress, and I was like, "Huh? Did they use the thing for that?" And I didn't clue into the because there's been so much scuttlebutt about Ashley Eckstein not being Ahsoka.
But we don't know that yet, though. Until Ahsoka shows up, episode 5, and she speaks.
No, it's Rosario.
No, it's.
I don't know. They did it with Maul.
What with like the voice confirming thing?
The voice in every live action appearance of Maul is different than Ray Park.
I could see it,
I guess,
but it's just gonna be hard because like it's not like she's just gonna be in makeup, right? Like it's not gonna be any CGI. Like the
thing is, if it's Rosario Dawson in the body, like they're not paying her to stay there silently.
They could be. Rosario Dawson is not as big of a get as people think anymore. Like the most significant thing she's been in recently was like Daredevil season 2. Like, let's stop acting like she's an A-list actor.
I don't know that's a big get. I just don't think
I could totally see them paying her money and then also paying Ashley Eckstein money. Because, like,
I think Ray Park is a very specific situation.
Rosario Dawson doesn't sound like Ahsoka. That's what'll be jarring about it. Is like, I mean, it's also just because Ashley's always done it. But, like, I don't hear Ahsoka when I hear Rosario talk.
This is only 10 years after we've seen Ahsoka.
I hear Rosario in Clerks 2 when she talks. That's what I hear.
They're all way too old. All these characters.
Oh yeah, they're all getting old. That's for sure. That's why I think
even Katie Sackhoff like does it. She sells it, but like part of me I was like, Bo-Katan's kind of old.
Well, see that was like the only, I guess, quote unquote gripe I had about that was like Bo-Katan's supposed to be like mid-50s at this point, and Katie is like 40 and aging like wine.
Yeah,
so
you would guess she's 30.
Yeah. Any final thoughts on this episode, though, DJ Jackson?
I think we're good.
Yeah.
I'm happy.
I'm content. That was a good episode. Looking forward to next week, and also next week, Life Day. Lego Star Wars Holiday Special.
Right. That's next week. We're gonna
be
busy.
Yeah, we'll have 2 episodes next week for everybody. We got a pod about
the
Lego Holiday Special.
But saying it means we have to.
Yeah.
Let's talk about our podcast schedule on air, like all good podcasters.
I can't guarantee we'll do the holiday special next week, but within the next 2 weeks we'll have it done. That's because Jackson's in school, DJ works, I work. We'll figure it out though. But we are going to pod about the Star Wars holiday special. I'm stoked about it. I can't wait for Tuesday night. I'm doing a Life Day themed dinner tomorrow, which is going to be a lot of fun. But Jackson, where can the good people find you at on the internet?
Everyone except for Gina Carano can find me at Jackson W. Wells on Twitter. What else do I have to say? I'm kind of doing a new show soon through my school, but I don't know if I have any information to share with like the general public about that. If I do, certainly not right now. So maybe be on the lookout for something else I'm doing or not. Thank you.
All right. Well, DJ, where can they find you at?
You can find me, you and Gina Carano can find me at DJ_Gillard. We're going to try to rectify that in the next week where it's only you can follow me. Gina Carano cannot. We're going to try to figure that one out, but I'll try to say something to mess up her day.
If she blocked me, man. I didn't even say anything. I could have.
The Boo Cara Dune hashtag will be what gets all of us blocked because I'm so mad. Like the whole joking cis and deceased challenge that we had to do was involving hashtag Mando Mondays. Lucasfilm doesn't even use the hashtag on those news drops. They're just press releases.
They need to work on their SEO.
Yeah. But yeah, you can find you and Gina Carano can still find me on Twitter at Papa Star Wars. But remember, when her character pops up, film yourself booing Cara Dune. And like every week, we are going to have links in the episode description as well. But until next time, enjoy the Lego Star Wars Holiday Special. Let us know on Twitter at Cantina Convo what you've thought of the season thus far, or predictions you might have for upcoming episodes. And we will see you next time. May the Force be with you.